In this lesson, you will learn how to create a sequence and add your assets. All right, to start off here, I'm going to get rid of some of these extra bins that I created. I'm just going to select them and then delete them. I'm going to delete this audio bin here. I'm going to grab the Cheryl Cookie instructional assets and pull that out of the footage bin here and then delete the footage bin. And now I have the same assets as what you have here. So I have the Cheryl Cookie instructional assets and then the wide bin and the cutaway bin. So let's look at creating a sequence. A sequence is a collection of all your video, audio, photo, graphic, and title assets, and that's built in the timeline panel. But as you see, it says timeline, no sequences. That's because this project doesn't have a sequence yet. So you can create a sequence in a few different ways. The easiest way is to just drop a media clip right into the timeline panel. So if I just grab a wide shot here, let me go down to the intro. If I just drag that right over here, this will create a sequence. And you can see over in the project panel here, I have a new item, and this is a sequence. Now I should tell you that when you're dragging clips from the project panel, you need to make sure you're grabbing right over the icon here. If you grab right here, sometimes you can accidentally click and it'll select the text as if you were going to rename the clip. So make sure you're grabbing right on the icon. So if I come over here to the timeline window, I can zoom out here and you can see what we have going on. Now we have a sequence to work with. You can see we have our clip here. We have our time ruler here, which is showing us hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. And time goes from left to right here. And then we have some video tracks and some audio tracks here. Now every sequence is going to have at least one video track, and any sequence with audio is going to have at least one audio track. By default, when you create a new sequence, it'll oftentimes put more video tracks and audio tracks in the sequence so that they're kind of pre-made and ready to be used. But dragging clips over to the timeline window is not the only way you can make a sequence. You can also take any one of these clips. Let me grab a different one so we have a different name. So I'm going to grab this, bring it right over here to the new item button, and you can see I have a new sequence. You can also right-click in the blank space here and choose New Item, Sequence, and this will bring up the New Sequence window. Let me just cancel out of this because you can also do that right down here, New Item, Sequence. I'm going to cancel. You can also do that up here, File, New, where is it? Sequence, which has also got the keyboard shortcut Control N. And you can see in this window here, we have a number of different presets. So I could select this preset here, and you can see in this description panel over here, it tells me I'm going to have 3 video tracks and I'm going to have several audio tracks. It says 3 standard audio tracks, and then it's going to give me 3 5.1 audio tracks. That's not really something that I'm super interested in having. You can also go over here and modify some of those sequence settings as well, and what types of tracks you want over here in the Tracks tab. And then you can save your presets down here. But the easiest way, again, is to just drag one of your media clips to this New Item button, and that will create a new sequence. And when you do that, this sequence is created with the right frame size. So you can see it's 1920 by 1080. It's the right time base. So this is 23.976 frames per second, which is correct. It's the right pixel aspect ratio, which is 1. It has the right audio sample rate, and everything's set up properly. So I'm going to get rid of this sequence here. I'm going to select it over here and just delete it. And then I'm going to take this sequence right here, CCI intro wide, and I'm going to pull it out of the Cheryl Cookie instructional assets bins, and I'm going to put it in its own bin called sequence. Now to add other assets to this, it's very, very easy, and that can also be done in a number of ways. So you can take anything from the project panel and just click and drag that right over in your sequence. You can see as you're dragging it, there are some lines that show up when you get to the edge of other media clips. And so this clip right here will snap to the edges of other media clips because snapping is turned on. Snapping is right here. It's also S on the keyboard. items will also snap to the playhead. You can see right there. And so it's very easy to just pull things in from your project panel right into your sequence. I'm just going to select these guys here and delete them. I can also add multiple clips to my sequence at the same time. So I can select a clip over here in the project panel and then shift click down here and then just drag these over to my sequence. I'm going to lasso those and get rid of them. You can also control click and bring those in as well. If I hold the control key down and I double click into this wide bin here, that's going to go into this wide bin. You can see in the project panel now it says bin wide. And then right here, I can go back up a level. So if I go into the wide bin and I change the view to icon view, now we have even more control over how we can add these clips to the sequence. I'm just going to move this up a little bit so I can have just a little bit more room to work. Now I can take this intro clip and I can move this to the beginning here. So now I have the intro clip first. Then I could take something like preheat oven and I could bring that up as second, and then maybe buttermelt instructions, and I'll put that third. Now I can take these three clips, control click them, and then pull them in, and now they'll be added in the correct order, which is very cool. Now, when you're in icon view, you have some sort options, which you can find right down here. And currently it's set to user order, but there are other ways that you can sort this folder. For example, if I change this to name, now you're going to see that these are going to go in alphabetical order. Usually I like to have this set to user order, and that way I can jump into the icon view and I can reorder things and then add them to the project. I'm just going to select these and delete them. So I'm going to go up a level and then up another level. So I'm back to my project base level here. I'm going to click list view because that's how I prefer to look at this panel. And now if I double click on one of these bins, it'll pull up this bin in its own window. And now I can take this bin and I could dock it right here. So if I wanted to have the wide bin open so that I could see what's going on, I could have that right there very conveniently, and I wouldn't have to keep navigating in and out of these folders. I could just create a tab here. I could do the same thing for the cutaway. I'll double click that. This time it shows up in list view, but I can change that to icon view. And then I can pull that right alongside my bin wide here. And now if I want to quickly get a visual idea of what these shots look like, I could jump over to these tabs here. Now there are a couple of other ways to add clips to your sequence. One of those is right from the source monitor. So if I double click on a clip, it's going to pull it up in this source monitor here. And from the source monitor, I can click anywhere inside this picture and then pull that down into the sequence, and that will add this clip to the sequence. I can also drag just the video by hovering over this little film strip icon right here. So I can click and drag, and now I can just add the video portion of this clip. I could do the same thing with the audio. I'm just going to select those and delete those. So you can use the source monitor for adding clips to your sequence as well. I'm going to jump back over here to this wide bin here. There's an additional way to add clips to the sequence when you select multiple clips. There's a button right down here. It's called Automate to Sequence. And when you click this, you get some options. You can see we can select the order, and we can use the sort order or the selection order. And then we have several more options here. We can apply default audio transitions. We can apply default video transitions. And so we can have these added as well. If I zoom up on the timeline, you can see I have audio transitions and video transitions. So it's just another tool that you can use to add clips to your sequences. You can do the same thing over here in the list view. I'm back to the project panel here. So I can select these guys here. I can click Automate to Sequence, and then I can choose Selection Order or Sort Order. So if I wanted to add these in a particular order, I could say Selection Order, and then I could add them to the sequence that way as well. So there are many ways that you can add clips to your sequence, and it's very, very easy to do. In the next lesson, you're going to learn how to mark the in and out points in your clips to make editing in the timeline much faster.